I'm not the kind of person who writes because I consider it to be fun. A lot of times I find myself writing things that I consider to be useful. So this writing exercise is going to be one that I think is really useful. And the purpose of the exercise is to help you determine where you want to go and conversely where you don't want to go, right? So we can basically conceptualize these like states of our life as places, and some of them are places that are places we want to be, and then there are places that we would want to avoid. So this exercise, I'm calling it heaven and hell. For the first part of the exercise, you would basically be describing the ideal place, and this is like what you're aiming for. This is what your life would look like when you have everything together. You can do this in bullet points, or you can just do it in like sentences, but for a lot of people, probably this would include like family. For sure it does for me. It would include a relationship with a person that you trust. It could include a meaningful or fulfilling career, physical and mental well-being. And these are things that I consider like aspects of the good life. I want these things to be in my life, and so this is like the ideal place for me. I mean, the list goes on. That's not the entire list, but you'll want to like identify at least, I would say, 4 or 5 aspects that you want to include in this place. For the second part of the exercise, you can basically describe what I consider to be no man's land, or you can call it hell, but it's the place that you go to when things fall apart, right? It's where you don't want to be. So for me, it's like destitution, if I have no job, or like no home, obviously. If I was like abandoned by my family, and if I had like a complete disregard for my physical well-being, and also obviously my mental and emotional well-being, but especially my physical well-being. That's a place I really don't want to be. I think the utility in writing this down is you can hold yourself accountable when you clearly articulate where you want to be, and when you know that when you have like an ideal, right, there's something you can strive towards, and you know when you're not striving towards it. You might even feel guilty. I kind of do sometimes. It's important to remember, I would say, that if you're doing this exercise and you realize that where you are right now is in like the hell or like the no man's land place, I think it's important to not despair, but rather realize that you've identified an ideal, right? You've identified a place that you can be that's better than the place that you are right now. Because in some way you consider the present to be like, I wouldn't say it's unbearable, but it's insufficient. It's insufficient enough to the point where you recognize that it needs to be changed. So just start heading in that other direction. Use this as a map, essentially. And maybe you can even write a new one continuously. But on the other hand, I would say if you're in the good place, then cool. Just realize that those things that you value require maintenance, and they require responsibility. And it's not always easy to obtain those things that you've identified in the ideal place. Alright guys, thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time.